this afternoon. Ban money withdrawal programming on airwaves. ARS leader urges regulatory authorities repeated use of emergency contraceptives can be very dangerous. That is coming from a medical officer coming in the bulletin. I said not by election, chop off my manhood if NPP wins. That is coming from NDC regional youth organizer. And later on the foreign front, East African Legislative Assembly blocks use of Kiswahili language during sitting. These and many other stories we have for you right here on Midday News. Many thanks for your time. Also remember, we're streaming live on Facebook, Instagram and Telegram at BH Television Ghana. So if you are not closer to your TV set or a bit tied up, don't be perturbed at all. Just move straight to all our social media platforms at BH Television Ghana and watch Midday Live over there. We will take a brisk break. When we come back, we delve into a story. Please stay with us. Welcome back now. News in details. The High Priest and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Apostles Revelation Society, popularly known as ARS, Reverend Inyenyami Eche Uvenu, has called for the enactment of laws to regulate and sanitize the country's airwaves as soon as possible. His call comes on the back of the rising radio and television programming, which allows open advertising of money rituals and other spiritual issues. Reverend Eche Uvenu was speaking in an interview at the church's headquarters at New Taziwu and the Ketu North municipality of the Volta region of Ghana. The man of God observed that many of the youth of today, in their insatiable desires to get rich quick, were being lured by the unregulated programming on the airwaves and were resorting to unorthodox means just to acquire wealth at the expense of acquiring skills to gain meaningful employment. He said that the disturbing trend, if not nipped in the bud, has the potential of destroying the younger generation. Reverend Uvenu therefore called on the National Media Commission and other relevant institutions to promulgate stringent legislation and apply the appropriate sanctions to media houses that failed to comply. He further recommended a possible ban on such programs to stem the tide as soon as possible. Okay, so away from that, frequent and repeated use of emergency contraceptives may be very harmful to women with conditions classified as medical eligibility criteria known as MEC, categories 2, 3, or 4 for combined hormonal contraception of progestin-only contraceptives. Dr. Mrs. Anita Owusu-Efriye revealed that frequent use of emergency contraception can result in increased side effects such as menstrual irregularities. Dr. Mrs. Owusu said this at the weekly Your Health Collective Responsibility program aimed at promoting health-related communication and providing a platform for health information dissemination to influence personal health choices through improved health literacy. She said just like other oral contraceptives, it works through the increase of hormones in the body, increasing the risk of the users contracting cancers, especially breast cancer, which was common in Ghana. She also encouraged young women to consider either abstaining or using condoms as a form of protection instead of abusing emergency contraceptives to avoid putting themselves at risk. She cautioned women against the abuse of emergency contraceptives as that put them at risk of contracting cancer in the future. She cautioned against multiple sexual partners as the practice was hazardous, stressing that having sex with many different partners increased the chance of encountering human papillomavirus, that is HPV, a cancer-causing virus. She said the expedition of multiple sexual partners exposed both the practitioner and the innocent partners to great danger and vulnerability. Dr. Owusu Efriye stated that the virus that causes HPV infection is transmitted through skin to skin contact. Most people get a genital HPV infection through direct sexual contact, including vaginal, anal, and oral sex. Dr. Mrs. Owusu Efriye encouraged people to undertake an HPV test and pap test probably every month. She also advised people with a family history of cancer to undergo regular medical checkups at least twice a year. Okay, so still on health news, Reese Hakeem Odro, the Deputy Regional Commander of the Narcotics Control Commission, popularly known in Ghana as NACOC, has stated that Ghana currently does not have any legal medicinal use for marijuana, while acknowledging that other countries have conducted research on the medicinal benefit of the drug. Mr. Reese Odro emphasized that Ghana does not recognize any medicinal use of cannabis or marijuana. However, in other jurisdictions, it exists. He explained that during an interview. Mr. Odro also highlighted the issue of certain drugs that have been legalized for medicinal purposes being abused by some individuals. He cited the illegal production of tramadol, where the required standards for producing medicines are not followed. This has led to the excessive use of tramadol in energy drinks and syrups. Meanwhile, research conducted in rehabilitation centers has revealed that 47% of females in Ghana abuse drugs. This includes females between the ages of 15 and 65, as stated by Francis Opoku Amoa, who is the acting director of Public Affairs and International Relations of NACOC. During the commemoration of International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Drug Trafficking, Amoa emphasized the need for increased efforts to educate the public about the harmful implications of drug abuse. He also called on the government to support the construction of additional rehabilitation centers to accommodate the young number of people in rehabilitation programs. Amid these challenges, Amoa noted that males still dominate the drug abuse statistics in the country, with 53% of males between the ages of 15 and 65 engaging in drug abuse in Ghana. Okay, so meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Joma Vincent Asamoah urges government to release funds in support of residents living in flood-prone areas. According to the Doma Member of Parliament, he said, though things have become very difficult in Ghana, by his appealing to the Akufo-Addo government to come to their aid as soon as possible. The Doma MP Vincent Asamoah lamented that due to the heavy downpours in Doma, some of the residents living in Doma have lost their lives. Here is the excerpt of what the MP said.
I invited you this afternoon for one big reason, which has become perennial. You know, every year, the media will go around and then we cover flooding situation in Accra and the whole country. And it looks as if it has become an annual ritual. We go, we cover, and every year it occurs. You know, yesterday and 3 days ago, we have had flooding the whole river. It is not only in Accra, Kumasi, and other places. And about 6 lives, we have lost about 6 lives, which to me, it shouldn't have occurred. If you look at our budget for 2022, we budgeted for the Ministry of Works and Housing was given about 500 million Ghana cedis in the budget. But at the end of it, the Ministry of Finance was able to release less than 20% of the budgeted amount. So currently, if we are experiencing flooding, I know we cannot avoid flooding anywhere in the world. But the measure that we put in place to reduce the impact of flooding is what is the most significant thing. But this government has deliberately decided not to fund the Ministry of Works and Housing. Because how on earth?
So you're still watching Media Live. You will take a quick breather here. We've got a lot more for you after this break. Please stay with us.
Wow! Japa travel and tour abalando waba munia sepede to kwan kwa brochira sumdwim na inke face problem biara za ono hwehwe Japa travel and tour na wombo wo ate Japa travel and tour abo bebre ema wo kwa abrochir awo me da travel and tour aye bebre e wo manim nanso sisiare sika ho ayeden deminti mama obi in face akwa enda no wa chenchina sepede to kwan kwa European countries nibi today Italy, Germany, France, Greece, Belgium, Portugal, Canada, Sweden, Spain, Denmark, Austria, even UK and apo the USA in epede kwa Japa travel and tour pe in American for wadamo oye easy ma ho kra visa passport ena wo papers okeka ho de Japa travel and tour bohwe na wa ni nyinara ma kama Japa travel and tour di nyipa bebre eko Dubai na Qatar inti sepe house help edwuma ye e wo Dubai na Qatar nkotenza Japa travel and tour ba ma edwuma no mpo ebudo ni sentiri nyi de Japa travel and tour nyi Dubai aban ni edwuma bom de minti one main office kro wo ho inti obi aruntumi ye obasabasa sekita wonsa na edwuma bi tide mason carpenter electrician painter plumber etc. The country of your choice Japa travel and tour bama wedwuma ye na wada atete won kakakra impie na pebe na ade hwehwe Japa travel and tour hone chirkwan e wo Kaswa Obom Road Great Lamtemil School no opposite wa Fre 0545733578 and also 0504 127697 Japa travel and tour yanyu betu kwan asumdwem.
Try and try, you'll succeed at last.
You're still watching Media Live with Sarah MENSAH, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, George Miracle Duka, says illegal mining generally occurs in abandoned shafts or within improperly closed mines. Addressing this issue, he said government will implement intermediate and permanent measures to manage sites and coordinate long-term monitoring system in the mining sector. Mr. George Miracle Duka was speaking at the commissioning of the Etrimanso community mining scheme in the Ashanti region of Ghana.
And Natural Resources, George Mikuduka, reiterated government's commitment to fighting the menace with the establishment of small-scale community mining schemes.
Galamsey has been in existence for years, even before I was born. It's been years, decades. But it's the government's vision and effort to ensure that we sanitize the sector. So we put up gamut of measures together that could, in a way, help in resolving this canker. If you go to South Africa, we have them, they call them Zamazama, they are all over. anywhere there is gold, there's this kind of illegalities. So as a government, we'll put up a strong campaign against it. And I will also urge you that you must be part of this effort in differentiating community mining from galamsey. Community mining is not galamsey.
According to him, the establishment of the scheme is to create job opportunities for the youth. And Natural Resources George Emerikuduka reiterated government's commitment to fighting.
Okay, so away from that, Obin Echinim Boateng, the Bono East Regional Deputy Youth Organizer for the National Democratic Congress, popularly known as NDC, has declared that as manhood should be cut off if the new Patriotic Party emerges victorious in the upcoming by-election in the Asin North constituency. The NDC youth leader expressed confidence in his party's ability to retain the seat with James Dachi Kwesen as its candidate, despite what he described as intimidation and vote buying tactics employed by the governing New Patriotic Party. He cited the NDC's unwavering determination, strategic planning, and story connection with the community as key factors that will lead them to success. He reaffirmed the party's commitment to representing the interests and aspirations of the people, vowing to address their concerns and bring about positive change. According to him, with the support and trust of the electorate, nothing will hinder their path to victory. The love for Honorable Kwesen at Asin North and the NDC is higher than expected due to the good works of the NPP's candidate. He then highlighted the alleged disqualification of the New Patriotic Party candidate Charles Opoku, who is claimed to be a non-registered voter in the area. However, Samuel Dria, a panel member representing the NPP on the said show, contested this assertion, arguing that the candidate could indeed participate in the election because he qualifies. In a strong rebuttal, Obin Echinim Boateng issued a startling challenge, exclaiming if the NPP candidate is able to vote during the by-election in the Asin North and win as well, they should cut off his manhood. He added that he is offering himself as a sacrifice. Meanwhile, the Asin North by-election has been scheduled to take place on June 27, 2023, following the expungement of the former Member of Parliament James Dachi Kwesen over a dual citizenship claim by the Supreme Court of Ghana. Okay, so the ranking member of Roads and Highway Committee of Parliament, Isaac A.J. MENSAH, complains about poor road infrastructure maintenance culture in the country. Addressing, according to the Wassa East MP, he said the problem right now in the country is lack of maintenance discipline. He also said when you go to rural areas in Ghana, all the need is the pothole patching, and it's not happening in their towns. He lamented that contractors are also not being paid, which is quite disturbing. He also said when it rains, the government is being exposed due to bad roads. He is appealing to the Akufo-Addo government to help fix the deplorable roads in Ghana as soon as possible. Here is the excerpt of what he said at the forecourt of Parliament.
Maintenance discipline. We are not maintaining our roads. Basically, in the rural areas, for instance, all they need is the pothole patching, the grading, and all those. And it's not happening. Contractors are not being paid. These are not being contractors. There are contractors who do the road slashing, the pothole patching, and all those and stuff. Now, when it rains, especially at this period that we are in the rainy season, the government is exposed. So you see that everybody is complaining in the rural areas and even urban centers. The roads are very, very bad. We have the flagship projects like the BHTV and all those. Yeah, these are good, but it is important that we maintain what we have. We are not able to, continue with the big project because of the the financial challenges that we all have, the IMF, conditionalities and many things. You could see that most of these projects have been stalled. But basically and most importantly are the basic maintenance of our roads. That is not what is happening. And when it comes to rainy season, for instance, there's a challenge. You go to lack of maintenance discipline. We are not maintaining our roads. Basically, in the rural areas, for instance, all they need is the pothole patching, the grading, and all those. And it's not happening.
So let's enter into the parliament now. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Bagbin, has described as cardinal sin the imposition of taxes on sanitary pads in Ghana. Thus follows a petition from some gender-based groups for scrapping of the 25% tax on sanitary pads. Speaking on the floor, the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Sumana Bagbin, further questioned why Parliament allowed such a tax to be slapped on such items, adding it as unconscionable. He further assured Parliament will work on their petition and ensure the 2024 budget does not contain such a tax. Here is what he said in Parliament as well.
We had to suspend the House because we had a group picketing outside, and I invited the leadership, and the issue they raised was a very serious issue. My attention was drawn to it already. Why should we, as members, honorable member, why should we pass a law imposing tax on sanitary pads? This is unconscionable. It's a cardinal sin. We just had to suspend the House because we had a group picketing outside, and I invited the leadership. And the
Okay, so let's end midday news with an international story. Kiswahili, the lingua franca and the official language of the East African community, has been blocked from use at the regional parliament. Some legislators insist that debate should only be made in English as it is the working language of the East African community. This was after a DR Congo lawmaker making a contribution to a motion on the recent terror attacks in Uganda requested to speak in Kiswahili language, an incident that nearly divided the assembly down the middle. The East African Legislative Assembly comprises representatives from the 7 East African community member states: DR Congo, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and Kenya. Dorothy Masirika, the DRC MP, was making her remarks about the brutal killings in western Uganda when along the way she pleaded to switch to Kiswahili language from English. The soft-spoken MP did not know that her request would be met with stiff opposition from fellow lawmakers from nearly all the partner states. She remained standing in the chamber as other MPs interjected on a point of order. A clarification sought was to whether proceedings follow the law. South Sudan's Gabriel Alak Garang rose in a half, saying that to the best of his knowledge, English was the working language of the East African community. Mr. Gabriel cautioned that allowing Kiswahili language to be used in the area would invite new challenges. Francis Rutazana from Rwanda implored the DRC legislator to keep on debating the issue in English language because what mattered was the content of the motion. But Mary from Uganda, intervened, saying that since the struggling DR Congo lawmaker has a point to make, she should be allowed to speak in their language, which is Kiswahili. Alternatively, she called for speeding up the installation of interpretation equipment for Kiswahili and French languages, which were last year made official languages of the East African community. Ela speaking Joseph intervened, saying the House rules and procedures dictate that debate be conducted strictly in English. He said the regional assembly would stick to the order unless the rulers were changed or the East African Community Treaty was renewed to accommodate the same. David Ole Sankok from Kenya challenged this, noting that there was always a way to adjust the laws to achieve the desired results, recommending that the stranded MP be allowed to proceed in her language, which is Kiswahili, under the current East African Community Treaty, which has not been reviewed since its launch in 1999. The official language of the community is English. Kiswahili language, which is the national language of two member states, Tanzania and Kenya, is developed as lingua franca of the community. Further argument in the East African Community corridors had it that although Kiswahili and French languages have been declared as official languages of the bloc, English remains a working language for day-to-day transactions wherever they find themselves. Okay, so that's said with international news, and that's how we wrap up on Midday News right here on BH Television. My name is Sarah MENSAH. Thanks so much for watching Midday Live. It's a new week. Continue to take good care of yourself out there. On behalf of BHTV, we say have an astounding afternoon.